Well, welcome to the Stone Roadie podcast. It's the one you don't want to miss. It stars Craig Reed, the Stone Roadie, and Griff, the rocket scientist. Let's not forget Kathy Godsey and all the old friends that come along. Lord, we'll be talking Skynyrd and leaving you with a song.
Good morning, everybody. Time to rise and shine. I'm Shelby Barrett, the Stoned for the Stoned Roadie Show, and it's time to wake and bake with Craig Reed and Griff Martin.
Okay, on the road with Griff Martin, or as one of our podcast viewers said, you ought to call it One More From the Road with Griff Martin, which is pretty cool, not a bad idea. But anyway, I'm right behind Gene Odom, and we're on our way to Gene's house, and we just got through having lunch down at his local favorite hot spot diner. But I came over to visit Gene, and we're gonna have a sit down at Gene's house and have a little discussion about some cool stuff. So you're not gonna want to miss this. This is gonna be a little bit more in-depth interview with Gene, like you probably haven't seen. I had an idea to ask him some questions about something that he has talked about before, but it's such an old video that I kind of want to redo it. So stick around, you're going to want to see the upcoming interview with Gene Odom at Gene's house. So one more from the road with Griff Martin. Stand by. All right, just pulled up at Gene's house, and we're in Gene's garage here. And what you got here, Gene?
Well, what we got is we got to sit down first, and I'll explain this. Hale House dock wood. This is a piece of the Hale House dock wood on top was nailed down to pieces of like 3x4s of the Hale House wood, and they were on top of the probably 3x6s that supported the dock. And these are pieces of the supporting wood that the top layer of the Hale House wood was nailed down to. And I had cut pieces, and some of it, when I took them up, had been split, and down through those boards I couldn't get my hands in there very good. I took a crowbar down through the top of the Hale House boards to get these, and I broke some of them were split. I broke the splits off and brought the splits up, and this is part of the supporting wood that supported the top of the Hale House wood. And that Hale House wood, this wood and the wood on top of it, is from when the railroad tore down the old wooden railroad trestle and did it with concrete. Gohagen and Mr. Burmeister, which he's gone now, they got that Hale House wood, and that railroad trestle wood, and that's what the Gohagen built his dock out of, rebuilt the old dock out of.
Gohagen was the guy that owned the property and owned the Hale House, right? And he actually built Hale House, didn't he?
John Gohagen was his name. And but he rebuilt his old dock out of that railroad trestle wood. That if you know anything about railroad, and I learned because the other grandfather spent 35 years with the railroad, and he's the one that told me that when I was cutting it, he said the smell. He said that's railroad trestle wood, and I went, well, it's off of the old Lynyrd Skynyrd dock wood. He said, I'm telling you, Gene Odom, that's railroad trestle wood. It's only that smell that is made for the railroad trestles.
So in actuality, when you go out on that original, when you would go out on that original dock down from Hale House, that was actually wood that came from the trestle.
Yep.
The railroad trestle.
He had rebuilt the old original dock. When he rebuilt it, he used the railroad trestle wood because the railroad tore all that down to make it out of concrete. And Burmeister, he's dead now. he got some of it. And there was another guy besides Gohagen that got some of that wood. And he's dead also. And everybody's dead. I'm not there yet, but everybody's associated with anything I had to do with that is dead, you know. And so this was the supporting wood that the top layers of the boards would nail down to. And this is about all that's left.
Well, hold all that in your hand, Gene. Let me get a video of you holding all that.
And if you ever smell this kind of smell, creosote, you only get this smell of creosote from railroad trestle wood. You won't get this from the supporting columns or railroad ties, which is different.
Oh yeah.
Different kind.
And I got a piece of the column.
Yeah, and you can smell it.
And it smells just like that right there.
Mm-hmm. And
wow.
it'll last forever. You know?
Yeah.
And if you ever notice the hell how down there. Oh, and what I was going to tell you is that when the two what was the movie with the banjo?
Deliverance?
Deliverance.
Yeah.
Oh, when I'll draw the picture, I'll show you where they stayed at and the house they stayed in.
Okay.
Those two boys. When I think they were named Playground, that bought the property from the two girls that Gohagen left the property to. What the hell was I going to say?
Okay.
They got these two guys. These two guys were kind of local, and the Canadian company that bought it, I think the name was called Playground, and they go around the world and they buy property and develop it. They didn't develop that like they thought they were because they were dealing with some old Confederate bloodline of people there at Green Cove Springs that go back to before the Civil War. The Playground thought they were just going to come in there, boom, and build 250 houses. Put septic tanks down, boom, and so they come in there and they met them people from Green Cove Springs, and they said, "You ain't gonna stick a shovel in the ground. You ain't gonna build no septic tanks. You ain't gonna stick a shovel in the ground until you build underground plumbing, underground sewer system from here out to
the road.
Highway planning 17, 17, and go into Green Cove Springs, and you're gonna build a water treatment plant. They no, you know, they're all lawyers, rich people from Canada. No, we're gonna do this, son. Took them years. It cost them $1 million a mile to put that sewer line into town to build that treatment plant. Then they started building them houses. Ain't no septic tanks.
Oh, so it wasn't no over the night thing. It was something that they had to work on a long time.
It took them years before they could break ground, and it had to be done their way. And there's several of them, a couple family members still alive. Go way back, all the way back, Confederate folk. And I'll tell you a little secret. I don't know if it won't hurt to do this. Up until a few years ago, now I'm not talking about Clay County Police Department or Clay County Sheriff's Department. I'm talking about the little town of Green Cove Springs Police Department. There might not have been but 10 police officers way back there. And I don't know if it's been consolidated to Clay County, but anyway, back then, when the police badge on their shoulder was a hangsman's noose.
Oh, no shit.
Oh yeah, forever. And then in the later years, a couple of blacks became police officers, and they've went up in ranks and stuff. And I'm sure.
Yeah, they got rid of that.
But I mean, talking about all the way up just a few years ago, it was on their sleeve. And you don't mess with Green Cove Springs. That's old school. And so Clay County. But those two, the banjo pickers, they're the ones that built that new dock on top of the old dock. And what that did, when they put that extra weight on that old dock, that extra weight, and that old Clay County mud, old Hell House dock was submerged most of the time. On low tide, it would come out. High tide, it was submerged. And that's why that water was, when you took out that original Hell House wood, it was wet, you know, and hopefully there's still a few pieces I get my hands on. But
it still fared pretty well with all that creosote in it.
Oh yeah, man, this original railroad wood will be like that forever, even if it was wet. It would dry out and it would be, you know, that's why the railroad shit lasts for years. The railroad don't do nothing that is going to break down in 2 weeks. It's for there forever. And so, from what I was told, those two banjo pickers were manufacturing a drug. I ain't gonna say what kind it was, and they got caught. And the Canadians shit canned them and got them off the property. And then long after that, they started developing the property, you know. But those guys are the ones that built a new deck on top of the
So that new deck that was on over the old deck, how long do you think that was there?
Several years.
Yeah.
Before it was, and the guy that bought it, they took all that down. And the last time I checked, there was still a few pieces of this original wood left underneath there. I don't know if anybody's got it lately, but there was still a few pieces of it.
Well, you're going to draw me a map of that whole Hell House thing, so we'll go in there and check that out.
I'm going to educate most of you people and some other people think they know about that. Believe me, I'm talking about some of them tribute members. I'm going to educate them too, right?
Okay, all right. All right, here we go. Gene's going to, what's this going to be a drawing of here, Gene?
This is the Hell House property.
Okay.
This was before they started developing it.
Is that a Sharpie right there? Would that Sharpie work? Because I can see it better.
Probably better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. This was the creek. Okay, Peters Creek. Peters Creek. All right, when you come down 209 from Brinko Springs, 17, Highway 17, 209, I think it's 209. And you coming this way. All right, and this is the railroad tracks.
Yeah, and I know exactly where all that's at because you and I have been over there many times.
Yeah, and that's the old Trestle. All right, coming down the road, right this side of the railroad tracks, this was the old homestead of the Gohagen House, right here. And how you got the driveway, you would come in this driveway right here, and that's how you get to the Gohagen House.
And where was that barn at? Wasn't there a barn like right by the entrance or something?
I think it was on this side.
Yeah. Seemed like
I think so. Yeah, it was on this side. But anyway, as you turn this way and you come into the Gohagen House, this is how you come in and would go to the Hell House. And to go to the Hell House, and all of this
woods.
was woods. There was a house here on the back end of the property, and this is where the sister lived, in that brick house. You would go right around like this. This is how you get to the Hell House property. And behind it was the creek and the swamp, and there wasn't no road. There was just the the dirt road. You had 2 tracks, your car tracks. That would that's how you would get to their house. And so years and years later, all right, Gohagen, I'm not going to tell you on this camera the tragic side of that tale.
Yeah, I know about that.
Okay,
That's,
so we're not going to talk
right.
about that. Okay, and so let's say the Hale House burnt down. All right, and then he built right about here. He built 2 like a little condo apartments right there.
Oh, after the Hell House burned down.
After the house burned down, he built these. He put these 2 little apartment condos there, and they burnt down. And only a couple of people even know that.
So there were actually a couple slabs there, concrete slabs?
They were, yeah. And this concrete slab at the Hale House was here. And he, few people don't know this, but he, on that slab, I can't remember how many he had, big old plastic barrels, and he raised the little fish you buy at the pet shops, the little fish. What do you call them? Tropical fish.
Uh-huh.
He raised tropical fish in these tanks sitting on top of the Hale House.
Oh, okay.
And by that water draining out all them years, that Hale House concrete had turned dark and it had mold and stuff. So to get a piece of that, you had to know what the stains on it, where they originated from. Very few people ever knew that.
So you could identify that slab by the stains on it?
By the water stains and
Gotcha.
the mold. Okay. Some years later, he started building him a house right here.
Even closer to the creek?
Closer to the creek. He got the foundation down, and the foundation support was bricks, red bricks. He got the concrete poured, got the walls up, got the roof on it, and was drying it in. Had the windows, some of them were in. He was drying it in. And that burnt down. They burnt all of that. And it was wood, and the wood that was stacked up under there and everywhere, they burned it down. And when I'm saying they, I'm not going to say who they are, because you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, they burnt that down, right down to the concrete, down to the ground. Okay. So it wasn't long after that that the Canadians bought the property, and so they bulldozed all of this stuff down and they dug several lakes on the property. They used this concrete block fill and junk that they broke down. They built a berm right down here side the railroad track. It's a big high berm, and if you ever walk down there you can see that berm. So all of this debris from them bulldozing all of this concrete and all of these slabs and stuff up is in that berm.
Oh my.
Along with, I don't know how many lakes is on the property. I know there's 2 lakes. And that dirt from that lake is in that berm. It runs all the way down from the road right here, all the way down to keep the noise from the trains.
Okay, yeah, like a buffer, sound buffer.
A buffer. I call it a berm. It's a berm, but it's a buffer, sound buffer. And so all of this stuff that's bulldozed, broke up, busted up, and I know for a fact they chipped all of these slabs up, and this house that burnt down that nobody really knew anything about is all in that berm. Pieces of concrete, pieces of the Hale House foundation, the Hale House slabs, the slabs from these two apartments, a little 1 or 2 bedroom apartments. And Gohagen, right over in this area, had built him a wrestling match.
Like a pin?
Yeah. What do you call that?
A fighting pin.
A cage.
Cage.
Fighting,
okay.
Because he used to wrestle, and that attracted some of his prey,
right.
as I would say. And that was tore all the hell down, and what the remnants left of that was.
Then he also did like a Boy Scout thing too, didn't he?
Yeah. And all of that remnant stuff, all of that stuff is in this berm, bulldozed over there. When they first started, even before they started digging in the ground to start the plumbing and all the other stuff, all that was bulldozed up, and the lakes were made before they started doing the foundations and stuff. And they bulldozed all of this down, all of that Gohagen, all of this is all in that berm.
So there's all kinds of stuff in there, and it's so mixed up, it'd be kind of undefinable unless it smelled like that wood. Mm-hmm. Then you'd know you had railroad trestle.
If you knew what you're looking for, you could go around after then. You can't do it now, of course, but before they started the construction work, which I did. I walked around there and got a few pieces and stuff. Knowing I got part of the Hale House Foundation, I sold it and some other stuff. And people have, one guy tells a story that he bought this Hale House slab for $200. They told him he could buy it for $200, but he never did to come down and get it. He might have got a piece of it, but he never did, you know. And then when they bulldozed it up, they didn't care about Hale House. They didn't care about none of that. They just bulldozed.
So it got destroyed.
It just got destroyed. Got jackhammered up, but bulldozers just. I witnessed a lot of it just being bulldozed out of the way, you know, knowing what it was, but it wasn't nothing I could do.
Right.
You know, but that's.
And that was a while back too, so you wouldn't even have thought probably how valuable that, historic that would have been.
Yeah, and Skynyrd, Ronnie, and those people never knew that. This was actually 111 acres, and there is a piece across the road going down the railroad tracks, a piece of land over here that actually goes with this Hale House property. That's on this side over here. I don't know, I think it's an acre, a little over an acre or something, what they told me. But that's the story. And the Hale House dock, you know, you have your original pilings, and the original pilings there, I think these are original, the actual supporting, I think they're like 3x6s. Those are still there.
And they're probably underwater.
Yeah, when the what did we call them a while ago? The banjo pickers.
Deliverance.
Deliverance. When the two Deliverance guys were in this house guarding the property when the Canadians first bought it, they was staying in this house as guards of the property. They built that new dock on top of the old dock, and that weight helped sink this down somewhat. In the mud, and the hurricanes that's why some of the original wood's still underwater if there's any of it left.
So what would have been high and dry actually sunk down lower because of the weight that they had put on it. Okay.
And they I can't remember if it's 3x4s. The supporting ones, the supporting boards that they put on here were from the original railroad trestle wood, and then the actual deck boards from the railroad trestle were nailed to these supporting things. But I think this is original. And these deck boards, the last time I saw there was a couple of those left, and there was a couple of these deck boards left that had been submerged. So there may still be a couple of deck boards on top of it. But these are original, and I think these maybe 5x6s or 4x6s, those original, and there's still a few of the original.
Was that leftover material, Gene, from when they were building the trestle? Because the trestle was there at the same time that the dock was there.
Rebuilding the trestle. When they, Mitchell taught me this. When a railroad trestle was built, and probably still today, you got your supporting columns. Let's say going across the creek. And so when they built, the trestle was built, all of this X-bracing wood.
Yeah, which was probably 2x4s and 2x6s.
2x6s or even bigger. All of this wood that they used to build the trestle out of that's why it smells the way it does, because of the special creosote. You only find that in railroad trestle wood, and that's where that wood came from when they rebuilt that trestle.
So when before those guys even started practicing at the Hell House, and that trestle was rebuilt, and they used, I guess, the wood that they took off the trestle to Gohagen used it to build the dock.
Whatever year they rebuilt that trestle, and when they rebuilt it and made it concrete, I don't remember what year that was, but I think that it was wood when they took the picture, the original picture. I can't remember what year the railroad changed it to concrete. I just can't remember. But when they changed it...
Probably well after the Hell House got burned down, right?
Possibly. I can't remember what years, I have trouble remembering anything nowadays. But that wood that they use on the trestle is one of a kind, one of a smell, and that's what you got with it.
So basically, the Hell House dock was built out of rebuilt trestle, which was located over the creek that the train used to come across. So that was the original trestle.
Right.
And then that picture of those guys standing on that was on the album cover was the rebuilt trestle.
Rebuilt trestle. And when they rebuilt it from wood to concrete is when Gohagen got the wood to build the dock out.
And Gohagen was saving some money, and he probably thought, well, this is great wood to use because, you didn't have to worry about it getting rotten or anything.
But the railroad wouldn't reuse it because it was, and they use spikes, them spikes big as your thumb,
right, that
long in that wood, to nail it on in them poles. And like Mitchell said, they put it up there for a lifetime, And when they did the concrete, that's where that wood come from that old trestle.
Well, that's pretty good story because nobody's ever heard that story before. This is
most people don't know the story. And people tell you they got parts of the slab and stuff like that. Nah.
So if we know somebody who thinks they have the slab, which is not really the slab.
Somebody would have had to bust that up, take some pieces before the property was sold, and I doubt very seriously anybody ever did that. I got pieces from the dock, from around the dock. That wood right there, comes from an old fat lighter tree that was next to the old fat lighter tree that was right over here that had fell down, and old pine becomes fat lighter, if you know what you're doing. And this wood come from a tree that fell down right in this area.
So that fat wood that I got came from right beside the dock right there?
Right in this area right here.
Yeah, you say you were out there when that tree fell, you heard the thump.
Yeah, and it was about that big around, and it had been there for no telling how many years. And after a while, being so heavy, normally when a wind blows or whatever, and it's time to go, bam, they go over, and it fell. And I went, damn, you know. Went over there and I said, that's fat. And when I came back, I cut it up.
Yeah, I still got a bunch of that wood too.
And I got some over there. Took 3 pieces over there yesterday.
Well, that's a great story, Gene, and thanks for telling it. And I got that diagram. I'll take that diagram with me, and then that's something that needed to be told.
Yeah.
Not too many people know the history of how actually the dock really came about, and that it's actually part of the trestle, the original trestle.
It's that Skynyrd wood, that dock house is part of the original railroad trestle, the wooden trestle that went across Peters Creek.
Huh. Great story, man.
It is a good story. And
Yeah.
of course, Hell House property, the Gohagen property, has got so much damn history. Oh, a guy did when you have Florida, when you have an old plot of land that's never been developed or anything, and if the old folks sell it, the state has an archaeological survey team come out and survey the property for artifacts or history. And so I met the guy. I got one of his t-shirts. He archaeological this whole area. And he found an area down here by the Hell House that had been a burn pit. And it had stuff in it. Pieces of pottery, pieces of china. He found a shotgun shell, and he found a 22 bullet casing. I actually found a whole 22 bullet. And some stuff that he found, a box full of stuff at that burn pit. He also found evidence of a Union encampment on that creek during the Civil War.
I'll be darned.
And up one way or the other, he found evidence of a Confederate camp on the same piece of property. Probably not at the same time, but he has proof of that, and he had to mark all of that with stakes and stuff. And come to find out that there was a Confederate encampment there, and there was a Union encampment on that property along the creek down there somewhere. He's got the map. I can't remember his name now, but I met the guy, and he wanted to sell all that stuff. And
But how ironic of that, you know, especially since the early flag that Lynyrd Skynyrd flew, you know, was that rebel flag, and they didn't even know that probably.
I'm sure they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't know that, you know.
Great story, Gene.
Yeah, man.
All right. Yeah, we got some other stuff we're going to be talking about, and we'll set up over there at your table, Gene, and do some more chatting.
All right.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep token until then.